I spoke with angels. From Swedenborg's diary. On the common or general influence of spirits communicative with men in general. This morning it was clearly shown to me how spirits operate into man. That is, how God Messiah leads men by spirits and angels. When I was fully awake and in such a state of thought as was formerly my ordinary or familiar state, so that I spoke, as it were, with myself on the subject I was thinking about with a sufficiently vivid imagination. So long as I continued thus thinking, I was almost in the same state in which I was before I conversed with spirits, and now, while I am writing these things, I am in a similar state, and for the most part also when I am conversing in company with friends, as at a table, and when I write letters. Now, in order that I might learn how this communication is with man, since I had sometimes doubted concerning it, because there is then no sense of the operation of spirits in ourselves, still less of angels, and still less of God, Messiah through angels, and thus through spirits, both mediately and immediately. After I had been for some time in that state in which there were no spirits, as it were, around me, suddenly the state was changed, and the spirits began to address me, and permission being given by God Messiah, they described to me the state in which they were, when I was, as it were, with myself in thought. They said they knew no otherwise than that they were the persons who thought, and who thus meditated, and, as it were, spoke with themselves, and indeed so much so, that those who were nearest believed themselves to be the very individuals who thought, but those who were more remote believed this less. And those still more remote believed it still less. They were, however, to a certain extent, in a similar state, but with a difference according to distance, which is the same as according to the affinity of the subject, meditated upon, with the state of spirits. When I afterwards inquired whether there were only some of many present, I perceived from their speech and their answer that there were very many. But on inquiring further, I ascertained that with the man who separates the internal sense from the external, that is, who thinks abstractedly from the senses of the body, there are many present who operate thus, whereas with the man who is only led by the senses of the body, and whose thought is turned to any kind of object, and does not remain long on one subject with an internal or intellectual vision, there are but few spirits present, and thus such a man is led, for the most part, by a certain general sphere of life from spirits. Nevertheless, spirits must be present, since every man is led by God Messiah to the ultimate end, which is salvation and happiness in heaven. Moreover, I was instructed that spirits, genii, and angels are altogether distinct from each other according to genera and species, which are innumerable, and that they, of the same genera, etc., are together that they may enjoy their felicity and then delight, which are most diverse, and that their delights are transmitted to men through representations, according to the will and permission of God Messiah, in order that they may render unto men every suitable service. How man is withdrawn or abstracted from consociations with angels. Sometimes I have fallen into thoughts concerning worldly things, and the cares attending them, and as often as this was the case, I have a relapse from association with spirits. I perceive the cause to be this, that the internal correspondences were separated, and the mind inhered in externals only, without correspondence. This is the reason why the sons of the most ancient church converse with angels throughout their life, and why they thus had a continual association with them, because in externals interior correspondences were represented to them. Whereas when a man indulges in externals, he is removed from the manifest association with angels, and is then governed by spirits, and these by angels, and thus man is ruled by God Messiah. And indeed, in all things, even to the minutest particulars of his life. But by permission, and in this manner, men are guarded every moment from evil spirits. The nature of men in the other life. Men in the other life are not such as they are in the life of the body. They then cannot dissemble, that is, say one thing and do another, and, by means of their intellectual mind, feign what is good, when at the same time they are evil. Their nature, as to its will, principle remains, but the intellectual things which are not inscribed upon their nature pass away. Thus no man can assume any other character than his own, nor can he act in any other manner than according to his will. There are deceitful of hypocritical spirits who can assume the appearance of angels, but they are the worst kind of spirits, since it is manifest that cunning is implanted in their nature. Few of such spirits were admitted to me, for such must be kept remote from association with others, lest they be contaminated, and this for several reasons. A vision by day concerning those who are devoted to the table, and who thus indulge the flesh. In the middle of the day at dinner, an angel who was with me conversed, saying that I should not indulge the belly too much at table. While he was with me, there clearly appeared to me, as it were, a vapor, exuding from the pores of the body, like a watery vapor, a mist, extremely visible, which fell towards the each where the carpet was, upon which vapor being collected, was changed into various little worm, which being collected under the table, burnt or flashed, off in a moment with a noise or sound. I thought that thus all the worms which could be generated from an immoderate appetite were ejected from my body, and thus burnt, and that I was then purified from them. Hence it could be concluded, from these representatives, what luxuries and similar things carry in their character. On the communication of spirits with man. I have already said and shown that spirits, who are the souls of those who are dead as to the body, while they are with man, stand at his back, thinking that they are altogether men, and if they were permitted, they could, through the man who speaks with them, but not through others, be as though they were entirely in the world, and indeed in a manner so manifest that they could communicate their thoughts by words through another man, and even by letters, for they have sometimes, and indeed often, directed my hand when writing, as though it were entirely their own, so that they thought that it was they themselves who were writing. Which is so true, that I can declare it with certainty, and if they were permitted, they could write in their own peculiar style, which I know from some little experience, but this is not permitted. What a miracle is! A miracle is that which is effected by the Lord, when anything concerns him, or faith in him, his heaven, or the church in a universal sense. The miracle thus passes through his heaven, and spirits effect it, but without any of their cooperative powers. This is a miracle, and is called the finger of God. Whereas false miracles are such as are performed by evil spirits, or devils by artificial means, and for no good end, but from a most depraved cupidity. Such miracles are also permitted, and they appear similar to divine miracles, in the external form, such as were performed by the magicians of Egypt, but they have no internal, and are not distinguished except by those who are in faith in the Lord. Evil spirits study nothing more when they are freed from bonds than to pervert goods into evil, and to imitate those things which belong to heaven, and by such artificial imitations to deceive minds. These are their principal studies, because every one wishes to be Lord. A state of mental quiet concerning celestial states in general. A state of peace is in a higher degree a state of mental quiet in a lower. Today, from an early hour in the morning, it was given me to learn from experience the nature of a state of mental quiet, and, indeed, by a species of attraction or subtraction towards the interiors, and towards spirits who were in this quiet state, and that, too, for a whole night, the state continuing till morning, and afterwards for more than an hour. It was thus given to know how sweet the state is, and how indefinite are the states of joy in heaven. It was also given me, in that state, to reflect upon those who desire to live in cares and solicitudes pertaining to corporeal and worldly things, how miserable they are, though they imagine they are in their fullest delight. It was given also to reflect how this state of quiet might be supplanted by a state of solicitude, which are like clouds in a serene sky. States of this kind, however, together with many others, which are peculiar to the celestials, cannot be perceived by every one, for they are unknown to the unknowing, neither can they be so expressed in words as to be credible. A certain degree of knowledge may contribute something towards credence, but I can affirm that the states of joy are indefinite as to all things that are pleasant and delightful in the heavens, which yet no one, as a mere man on the earth, can apprehend, but which still are such that, if one had a sense of them, even of the least, he would never more desire to be in the body, or in corporeal or worldly cares. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share. Thank you.